80 and 90. So yeah, you're not going to dead, and a few other perks, so that's really nice too. So first thing you're going to do is take all the schmutz off, all the packing material. So you need some wire clippers or scissors, some heavy duty scissors to take all that stuff off. Packed very, very well. No scratches, dings, dents, bent forks or anything. This was amazing. Hey, I'm going to ride this thing. You know, it looks like it's fun, just not even put together yet. So I took the charger out and I charged the battery as I was assembling this. And this, you can do that. Just be careful not to pull the cable out or crimp it or anything. So I just plugged it in while I was assembling things, put it on the front wheel. There's not a whole lot to do, and it's mostly assembled out of the box. You'll see the red light to indicate that it is charging, and that is great. Remember, righty-tighty, lefty-loosey. And you'll see the display hanging off there too, so be careful not to scratch that up. There is a protective film on it, so that's cool. And you'll see in the book there's 2 places to drop it. The brakes are kind of loose on this one anyway, so you're going to screw these in, actually bolt them in from the, get a good view of it so you know where you're putting it. I tried to do it here blind, and I think I got one of them in, but I had to go underneath it and look for the other one. No big deal. Make sure these guys are tight, because obviously you don't want your handlebars falling off when you're riding those mud trails and taking them 50-foot jumps. You know what I'm talking about? All right, don't do 50-foot jumps. That's up to you, man. Your mileage may vary. All right, so once you've got those 2 screwed in, you're going to put your display in. This is going to tell you everything about your controller, your speed, your miles, what mode you're in, if you're in turbo mode, because you don't want to be in turbo mode if you're not ready for turbo mode, because this thing will lift and do a wheelie for miles. It's crazy how much torque is in this bike. And also there is a bolt under here. You're going to find 3 bolts, and you're going to take these off to put the front fender on. This is probably the, well, it's probably the easiest fender installation or assembly I've ever done, because it's just 3 bolts and I didn't have to play with the headlight. The headlight goes on later. So this just, you match these 3 holes up here. There's additional holes there, just ignore them. You'll see the 3 that fit in there. And you're probably going to have to get down on the ground on your back to get to these. I could not see these blind. I think I got 1 in there to hold it into place, but to see the other 2, I had to get on the ground and do a little bolting underneath. You know what I mean? So that's probably the toughest part. If you do have a rack, it's going to be a little bit easier, but it's going to be hard to get this 127-pound monster up there. But it can be done, you know. You have a hydraulic lift, you can get it up there. And there I am on the ground, and bolt those 3 in there. Now the front wheel's going to go on. You're going to see 2 spacers. The longer one's going to go where the brake is. You'll see an indent in the wheel, and this is lined up especially to fit in this hydraulic brake. And it's got dual pistons in it. I mean, this is like a motorcycle brake, set of brakes here. So you're going to take that front. This is actually your axle, so don't throw this away. On a lot of electric bikes, it's just a spacer, but this is actually the axle. Remember, the longer spacer is going to go towards the brakes, as you'll see the indent in the front wheel, and that will slide right in there, and then it's going to be completely lined up here. There is a protector in the brake, in the caliper, so you're going to roll that directly in the middle there. Mine was actually mashed together. The pistons were actually all the way out, so I had to take a screwdriver and go in and push the pistons in. But no big deal. I got those spaced out. Just push them in. One little thin screwdriver, and it opens it right up to exactly where it needs to be. And I didn't need to do any adjustments. Now, this front axle was a little tight. Took a little bit of effort to get that through. And you get that through the other side, and you have to put the spacers in there. Don't forget to put those spacers in there as well. And you're going to put your front axle all the way through the longer spacer near the brakes, and then the shorter one on the other side. And yeah, it took a little convincing to get that guy through there. And I finally got it through, and then you put your lock nut on the other side. So that is done, and she's not going anywhere once you tighten this up. Make sure this is pretty tight. And you probably want to check this every couple of rides, especially if you're doing a lot of jumps and a lot of bumpy dirt terrain. Make sure that that does not come loose, because all bolts can work themselves loose no matter what you do to them. So make sure that's pretty tight. And you'll see the wheels lined up great. It was on point. It was completely round. It was a free spin. Here is the hydraulic brakes with the dual pistons. It's ready to go. Next thing is your rear shock, connecting that to the frame. And you want to get that lined up. Don't pinch your fingers in there. That is a definite possibility. You want to line that hole up there and then put the bolt in. But you can get it in there, and then I had to screw it in and kind of coax this one in there too. But you want that to be tight because you don't want this to come apart either. I had to take my wrench and just start screwing that in and to get it in all the way through. So that is in there nice and tight as well. And this took a few tries to get that done. And then the washer, and then your lock nut on the side to lock that in. And boom, your rear suspension is successfully installed. I want to test it out. Obviously, I did this after I took it in on a mud ride, but I want to show you the suspension, the front and rear suspension. This thing is impressive. It's like riding on butter. They did a great job with the suspension, and you'll see this too when you take your first ride. All right, the front headlight is 2,000 lumens. Thing's bright as a motorcycle headlight. And that kind of goes on the front here and hides all those cables behind it. And you'll see there is a loose cable with an orange end on it. Before you mount this on there with the one bolt, it's got one bolt and two little things on the bottom you kind of pop in there. And but before you mount this on here, you definitely want to plug that orange cable in for your headlight. Otherwise, you won't be able to get to it. It's going to be hard to get to, and you don't want to hide that back there because you do want a headlight in the event you're going to do some dusk or even night riding, which a lot of people do in Alabama. It's kind of a thing here. People go out and meet for these night dirt bike rides. That would scare the bejesus out of me, but people do it here, and they have a great time doing it. It's like a culture. So, yeah, that's a little tough to put in, too. Those wires are, there's a bunch of them back there. And this kind of sits in front of them. You see my orange cables there? So I don't want to tighten this guy up before I plug that orange cable in. And fortunately, I did not. I kind of saw it there, and I'm like, all right, let me plug this guy in. This is my headlight. And you'll see two little tiny arrows, and just match the heads of those arrows up, and it'll slide right in. Be careful you don't want to bend those pins because you're going to have to straighten them out. And then the bolt goes right in there and tighten it up again. All these tools, this Allen wrench is included, and make sure that's on there pretty tight. And my brakes are loose. I'm going to have to adjust not the brakes themselves, but the clamp that holds the brake on the handlebar. Those were loose. And I was able to get everything in just the right position, right where I wanted them, and then I was able to tighten all these up. You do need the key to start this thing, so that needs to be accessible, so don't hide that. And the brake may occlude part of the back of that too.